December 15th, 7 p.m. inside the Graham Goldsmith Theater at the Wallace in Beverly Hills for Soul of the Holidays, benefiting survivors of the Altadena Eden Canyon fire. For ticket information, just log on to tickets@thewallace.org. That's tickets@thewallace.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580 and the Black Freedom Fund.
People killing, people dying, children hurt and you hear them crying. Can you practice what you preach and would you turn the other cheek? Father, 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 help us, send some guidance from above. These people got me questioning, where is the love?
KBLA Talk 1580 is right here. It's right here for you. I'm excited to bring into the conversation another distinguished scholar who I have not had the opportunity to talk with before. She's an internationally recognized award-winning educator, speaker, and authority on cross-cultural understanding, an influential community leader, and the founder and CEO of Bridging Cultures Group, Incorporated. Dr. Debbie Almontaser, welcome.
Thank you so much, Dominique. What a pleasure. I'm honored to come on today and to get an opportunity to meet you. And I love how you just kicked us off with one of my favorite songs.
Yay. Okay, well, I mean, I'm reading your bio. It's amazing all of the things that you've been involved with, that you have done. And it seems in some ways that your scholarship and your track record is directly at odds. Maybe it's directly crucially important, but also at odds with the moment that we're in right now, where cross-cultural understanding or any cultural understanding, diversity, equity, and inclusion are virtually against the law.
Yes, it is very scary times that we live in, Dominique, but the work must continue. And what it is required of me and my company and my staff to do is pivot in this moment. And one of the things that we did in the very beginning of the year is actually do a website audit and, redefine what diversity, equity, inclusion means, right? And so some of the things that we've actually have incorporated to make it sound, okay to do this work is adopt an acronym called FAIR, which is fairness, accountability, inclusion, and respect. And so when I'm doing trainings and workshops for people, I'm defining this to help them understand that everyone that we know wants to live in a fair society where they are treated as equals, where they are receiving everything that others are doing. Accountability, we want to make sure that we hold ourselves accountable and those around us and those who lead us. Inclusion, making sure that we are creating inclusive spaces that welcome everyone, no matter where they come from, what they worship, who they love, and how they show up in the world. And respect. All of our faith traditions teach us respect and how important respect is. And whether you have a faith tradition or you don't, it's a part of human nature to show respect and kindness. And so having to regurgitate these words, Dominique, to help people understand that we're still really saying this is diversity, equity, and inclusion work.
Right. I mean, I'm surprised you even put inclusivity in that acronym, but
well, believe it or not, they did. I didn't actually create this acronym. This was actually created and utilized by a lot of groups, so we're adopting it.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, tell me. Let's start with the most basic. What does Bridging Cultures Group do? What is the nature of your work?
Yeah, absolutely. So Bridging Cultures Group was founded in 2016 in December, shortly after the Southern Poverty Law Center actually did a 30-day report where they asked people across the country to report incidents of hate right after Election Day. And so when that report came out and I read it, I was absolutely astonished and horrified to see the level of hate that was spewed during that presidential race, and the impact that it had on so many diverse communities. And so the communities that were impacted were, Muslims, Jews, LGBTQIA community, immigrants, women, African Americans, pretty much everybody who identifies as a part of the BIPOC community or a minority community. And the two areas that had the largest number of incidents were actually the K-12 setting and the university setting. And at that point, I said to myself, oh my God, I need to do this work. As a former educator, 25 years in the New York City public school system, from teacher to diversity coordinator, advisor, to principal and administrator, I realized that I needed to take all those skills that I had learned over the years and to incorporate them into doing this work. And the one thing that I did, Dominique, was I made a commitment to myself that my diversity, equity, and inclusion company was going to uplift and amplify and build a platform for African Americans, for women, for minority communities to actually center their experiences in the very work that we do. So if you look at our website, we are majority BIPOC leaders. And the reason I did that was when I was going through the school system and having to take diversity trainings, a lot of the trainers that were training didn't look like me, didn't sound like me. They were white, well-intentioned women or men who were talking about me and for me, and at times really just did more harm than good. And I realized that the only way that we can actually be effective in helping people better understand the diversity of our country is to uplift and amplify and center those voices of people from those communities to talk for them, by them. And so the company specializes on Arab, Muslim, and South Asian cultures, but obviously we help support BIPOC community based on the requests that we get from companies or, schools or what have you, depending on what it is. And we tap the right people. So if we're doing anti-racism work, I'm not going to be the one to show up and do that anti-racism work. It's going to be someone who is one of our consultants who's African American. And if I need an additional person, I will show up or someone else will show up as an assistant. But that very person is going to lead the work because it's in their lived experience.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense. I hadn't seen any data that's showing that the bulk of these incidents were happening in K through 12 and college. I've looked at a lot of data on hate crimes because I'm repeatedly struck by the fact that every time a report comes out, depending on what's happening in the news, there's a big emphasis on whatever group is coming up in the news. What do I mean by that? You see, we saw the Stop Asian Hate campaigns that came out around the time when then President Trump was calling COVID, the China, whatever virus or whatever crazy thing he was saying. And, around 9/11, we talked about, Sikhs and Muslims who are being attacked because of that. And then, now with this emphasis on, the response to the war in Gaza. Every report, they're emphasizing the attacks on Jewish Americans. But through all of those different phases, the number one group being attacked is African American, but that never seems to be noteworthy.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that's why, radio shows like yours and companies like mine need to continue, amplifying, the inequities that exist within our societies and creating those spaces and making sure that we are talking about the impact that we are seeing on Black and Brown communities day in and day out. And we have to start making our own news. At the end of the day, that's how I find out about incidents that are happening in the Arab, Muslim, and South Asian community, or in the Black community or the Latinx community, through social media. But if we look at mainstream media, we barely see any of this information even coming up.
That's right.
And so what does this tell us? It tells us that we need to become the informants of our stories to make sure that people see and hear us and understand what is happening in our communities. And I think, you mentioned Gaza. What we have seen in the last 2.5 years through social media was reporting that we had never seen historically of that part of the world live, on blast, for people to see, in full color what was happening there. And because of that, we have seen a huge shift in empathy, a huge shift in people wanting to give, to support the people of Gaza. And it's all because some of them were able to tell those stories. And that's why storytelling is so important. As a student of Marshall Gantz, who basically has done so much, he was the very person who trained, former President Obama on telling his story, and continues, to do his training at Harvard and other places. And I think we just need to equip Black and Brown people on telling their stories and being able to change the minds of hearts of people, to really build a cohesive society that welcomes and values all peoples.
Talking with Dr. Debbie Almontaser, and she's the founder and CEO of Bridging Cultures Group, Inc. We do have a lot to talk about. It's KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 remembers Robin Ayers on the 1-year anniversary of her passing. 1 year ago this week, we lost a remarkable and vibrant voice. Robin Ayers touched countless lives through her passion, her love, her service, and her smile, which you could see through the radio. KBLA Talk 1580 honors her memory and celebrates the legacy she left behind. Robin, your spirit lives on in every conversation, in every connection, and in every one of us, inspired by your voice. Gone but never forgotten. KBLA Talk 1580, where voices matter.
I'm missing you. Tell me why the road turns. I'm missing you. Tell me why the road turns.
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt?
With Civic Tax Relief, they were able to save me upwards of $80,000 that I would have had to pay had I not reached out to them.
Get ready for a toll-free hotline. Take advantage of new IRS tax forgiveness programs that may protect you from IRS collection agencies.
I owe the IRS $37,000.
They have the power to garnish your wages, put liens on your property, and levy your bank account. Civic Tax Relief can help protect you from the IRS.
Civic Tax Relief basically represented me against the IRS. By the time everything was completed, I didn't owe the IRS anything.
Find out about the Fresh Start program that is now available through Civic Tax Relief. Civic Tax Relief's special tax hotline can help you discover all the relief programs available for free.
I would recommend anyone who has a tax problem to contact Civic Tax Relief.
Just call 800-404-4999. 800-404-4999. Don't wait. Call now. 800-404-4999. 800-404-4999.
With the new IHOP value menu, $6 is all it takes to go to your happy plates, where stacks of pancakes with bacon and eggs are just $6 every day. French toast, sausage, and eggs are, you guessed it, $6. And fluffy omelets come with a side of pancakes and only cost $6. Go to your happy plates every day at IHOP. $7 in some locations. Available every day for a limited time at participating restaurants in the U.S. Hours may vary. No substitutions. Not valid with other discounts or promotions. Prices may vary.
Oh, how's that flu, babe? Did you take DayQuil Intense Flu yet?
Nah, I got this. Ugh, okay, I don't got this.
You stay on the couch, and I'll grab the DayQuil.
Undo your flu symptoms with DayQuil Intense Flu. DayQuil Intense Flu provides powerful relief of your flu symptoms. I'm ready for that to-do list.
Wow, you do got this.
DayQuil Intense Flu. The daytime coughing, aching, fever, under your flu medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Dr. Debbie Almontaser is my guest. She's a founder and CEO of Bridging Cultures Group Incorporated, an educator who, as she mentioned, has spent decades in the school system and has done so many other things. I could spend this whole show reading your bio, which would be very interesting in and of itself. Former principal of the Khalil Gibran International Academy in Brooklyn, consultant for CAMBA, which is a nonprofit on diversity project. You've done curriculum for the Muslim Communities Project under Columbia University, and a lot more. So you pointed out that a lot of these hate crimes were happening in school settings, universities, and K through 12, and that's what prompted you to start this organization, that your company that you currently have. So to me, it's weird because on the one hand, I've seen it as a mama. I've seen it happening with my own child on campus. But on the other hand, when I watch the way things have unfolded here in LA and around the country with what's going on university campuses and the protest, it seems to me that the young people get it, and they're the ones being targeted politically for expressing their own views.
Yes, Dominique. I think one of the things that was a missed opportunity on university campuses was actually creating a safe space for young people to actually talk and process what they were seeing and what they were hearing. And this was not just an issue, on university campuses, but this also even was taking place in middle schools and high schools, where students had two things that they were operating by: what they heard at the dinner table if they had, dinner with their families, and then the algorithm on social media. Whatever algorithm that they were being fed as they scrolled on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook, whatever social media platforms they were, using, basically just gave them a one-sided narrative that really did not give them a full understanding of everything that was happening. And I think the missed opportunity on university campuses, as well as, middle school and high schools, is the opportunity to create a safe space for students to actually talk and process what they were hearing, what they were seeing, how this actually has affected them emotionally, psychologically, to build empathy for one another. And so what we ended up seeing was really students, taking it out onto the campus sites, onto the streets. Because there was no space for them to engage in dialogue and to better understand the various perspectives that actually have existed around this whole entire crisis in the last 2.5 years. I had the fortunate opportunity with the New York City public school system to actually provide courageous dialogue training for middle school and high school teachers, where we actually put together a team of facilitators, one consisting of a Jewish facilitator and the other either Arab or Muslim co-facilitator, who actually led by example of how we can actually be models for young people to be able to engage in a dialogue. And what we did through this training was, first, we established community agreements, unpacked what active listening looks like and sounds like, utilizing I statements, and then also unpacking anti-Semitic tropes and Islamophobic tropes in order for people to understand what they are and how to make sure that they are not, saying any of these things to cause harm to people in those dialogue circles. And so we did this by helping them understand what they were, because the first thing that educators were saying, I'm not prepared for this. I'm afraid I'm going to offend, someone. I may say something, or someone may say something and I don't know what to do with it. So we're like, okay, we'll provide you the training. And everyone who took our training, when they took the pre-survey, basically were very nervous and I'm not equipped. After taking our 10-hour training, they're like, I'm fully equipped and confident that I actually can facilitate these conversations. And what we did, in addition to those techniques that I talked about, was we used Courageous Conversations About Culture and Race by Glenn Singleton, who actually has the Courageous Conversation Mindset Compass, to help them understand where they are in their process, socially, emotionally, intellectually, and then how to utilize it with young people to understand how to use it. And then we provided them with a script that actually helped them ask questions, probing questions, or statements to help unpack and use that moment if somebody did say something as a teachable moment versus a punitive moment. And so this is something that, as an educator, I believe in restorative healing practices. All of these dialogues were actually being facilitated in a restorative healing circle, which really gives everybody the space to talk and feel safe about what they're talking. And all the schools that we trained were like, this is incredible. Thank you. And what we said to all the educators was, it's not just about this current crisis that you're dealing with. It could be about any crisis in the world or any controversy that has ensued, that you can use these tools to help your students unpack what's happening and build empathy and solidarity.
In our YouTube comments conversation, Dee Sequoia wants to know if you have an analysis for your work that includes people with disabilities.
Absolutely. We make sure that all of our work that we do, we incorporate opportunities for differentiated instruction, differentiated accessibility, to make sure that both students and faculty in schools that need that type of accommodation are provided those accommodations.
I mean, I think it's also probably more than just accommodations. It's also how just the same kind of conversation you're having about, how to talk about it, how to think about it, how to avoid the tropes. I feel like it's harder now because so many of those tropes and racist, sexist, ableist ideas and images are passed around on social media with no context. So people, and it's not just young people, it's old people, grown people too, don't know how to filter that out and even put it in context.
And that's the double-edged sword, right, of social media. We have a lot of people that are on social media that either use it for good or use it for evil. And I think the people that use it for good use it to educate and to help people better understand the world and the worldviews that they, espouse. And then sadly, those who use it for evil use it to basically marginalize and malign communities. And so I think for us as consumers of social media, we really need to be educated consumers by making sure that whatever we're seeing, we fact check it. It is our responsibility to fact check it and not take it for face value. And that requires us to look at alternative media outlets and, alternative channels on social media and looking for credible sources that we can really determine what is fact from fiction.
Yeah, and I also think it's media. It is media literacy, and that goes to social media. It also goes to regular media, because and for sure, as we were talking about earlier today, AI. Start doing research, quote unquote research, or to Miles's point, using AI as a search engine. There's so much mis and disinformation. We've got to start getting a handle on, yes. Cultural understanding, but also understanding how to tell the truth from the spin and, the trolls from the humans.
Absolutely. It's so critical. And these are the very basics, Dominique, the very basics that we've been taught, for decades, right? To be critical thinkers and to use our critical thinking to understand and read between the lines.
I should have said
whatever it is.
I should have said bots, because most trolls are humans. I should have said bots, but yeah, we'll continue this conversation. Go ahead.
We have human trolls too,
yeah,
and those are even more scarier than the bots.
Well, yeah, another conversation we can take up on the other side of news, traffic, and sports. Dr. Debbie Almontaser is my guest, and you're welcome in at 800-920-1580. How do we bridge the divide? That's coming up on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Secretary of State Marco Rubio met with the Ukrainian delegation in Florida as peace talks with Russia continue.
As we've made progress, I think there is a shared vision here that this is not just about ending the war, which is very important. It is about securing Ukraine's future.
Key sticking points include Ukraine giving up territory and limiting its military. The Moratorium Now coalition recently rallied in Detroit, Michigan, demanding full funding for SNAP and the Affordable Care Act. Despite the recent shutdown, food insecurity is rising, with thousands seeking aid daily. Advocates warn cutting ACA could harm millions and urge redirecting funds to food, healthcare, and housing. And Real Housewives of Atlanta star Portia Williams has been cleared in an alleged airplane incident after BravoCon 2025. Federal authorities say she was falsely portrayed as the aggressor and will face no charges. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
It was a rough night for both of LA's NBA teams. The Phoenix Suns snapped the Lakers' 7-game winning streak with a dominant 125-108 victory at Crypto.com. First loss for the Lakers since November 12th at OKC. Dylan the Villain Brooks led Phoenix with 33 points and a lot of trash talking for LeBron and Lakers fans. LeBron finished with only 10 points in 31 minutes. The Clippers lost at Miami 140-123. Fifth straight loss for the Clippers, who are now 5-16. Former Clippers guard Norman Powell led Miami with 30 points. The Clippers trading Powell after last season makes no sense at all. They really could use him now. Powell is leading Miami in scoring with 25 a game. Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert has surgery Monday on his fractured left hand. The 8-4 Chargers are unsure if Herbert will be available for Monday night's game against Philadelphia at SoFi. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
The laws have not changed in California. All workers must be paid properly and protected from retaliation. Retaliating against a worker or not paying them because of their immigration status is illegal. Don't believe the lies. California laws protect all workers, regardless of immigration status. Document retaliation and wage theft. Report it to the Labor Commissioner's office. Learn about your labor rights. Visit wagetheftisacrime.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Lena Bloom for the Bail Project.
Imagine you're stuck in a jail cell and you can't afford bail and someone offers you a way out. Just plead guilty and you can go home and kiss your kids goodnight. What do you do? What thousands have. You plead guilty whether you are or not. Cash bail makes poverty a crime. That's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail, because freedom should be free.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where hate loses and love wins.
And we're so glad that you're here. I'm always appreciative that you are here in conversation right now with Dr. Debbie Almontaser, founder and CEO of Bridging Cultures Group Incorporated. She has co-designed and developed curriculum for the Muslim Communities Project. As I mentioned, a member of the steering committee for a community of many world's Arab Americans at the Museum of New York, and spearheaded the inauguration of Arab Heritage Week in New York City, among many other things. Looking at, where we are right now, looking at the news, I mentioned the news cycle when it comes to hate crimes. I think it's also shaping our perception in real time. And this issue of the killing of these two the killing of one and the severe injuring of another National Guards person by Ramanullah Lakhanwal, who is from Afghanistan. And then the reaction of this administration, okay, no more people from Afghanistan, no more refugee seekers, seems to speak to that sort of broad brush of a reaction to a news story coloring an entire community. When you, I guess, how would you advise, this is another considered South Asian community. How would you advise sort of counteracting that in our perception or in our discourse?
Absolutely. One of the things that is really important, Dominique, is to make sure that we do not generalize or cast a community with a broad stroke brush of guilt and collective responsibility for the act of an individual. And this is something that, Muslims and Arabs have endured in the last 25 years in the aftermath of September 11th. And as loudly as, these communities have condemned, terrorism, condemned acts of terrorism, abroad and what have you, it just has always fallen on deaf ears. And people are constantly, being put through this litmus test of, well, do you condemn, what just happened? Or, do you condemn this, terrorist attack, et cetera? And so what this has done is psychologically impacted communities. We don't see this happening to any other faith community to always be cast to, provide condemnations. And when we look at our history now, right, our current history of what's happened in the last 10 years, the biggest terrorist in our country is white supremacy. it's terrorizing churches, it's terrorizing synagogues, it's terrorizing, gurdwaras. And, this is a new reality that we really need to be cognizant of and figure out collectively, how do we make sure that we're safe from white supremacy that is seeping into the fabric of our country, right? And all of our country. And we know that, there are people who have large platforms that are basically initiating this and supporting this and publicly acknowledging that, some of these notions and ideas. And so, I think, going back to, what happened in Washington, D.C., my heart and, sympathies to the families of both of these individuals. And all I could say is I pray for them and their families. And I pray for our nation, to really look at how we are presenting ourselves globally and the impact that we are making on people globally. And also, in our own nation. Right now, I live in New York City, and we, have had people being terrorized on Canal Street with ICE. And Los Angeles has experienced it itself. Chicago has experienced it itself. And so how do we create, an environment free of hate, free of fear, that people who want to be here, who want to contribute to this society, who want to make this their home, to raise their children, to have a future in this country. How do we reclaim that? Is the question that I ask you and all of us to ask ourselves. What do we need to do in our local communities to regain that sense of solidarity, that sense of, empathy, and inclusion, of being able to live side by side with people we may not agree with at the ballot box, but at the end of the day, we all share the same values, and quality of life matters that matter to us.
I mean, but do we though?
Families.
Like, what if we don't? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that means you get to go shoot someone, or that that we should all be living in hate and fear. But the fact of the matter is, I don't share the same values with the president. I don't, and it brings me to the concept, and I'm paraphrasing that James Baldwin quote, where it's fine if we have a difference of opinion, unless your opinion includes my elimination. Then how do you bridge that divide? If you're a white supremacist and you think that it's better if I don't exist, or that I'm removed from this country, even though my ancestors, built the White House and a lot of the wealth that makes this country a superpower, how do I find quote unquote common ground or get away from polarization? I have a member of my own family who voted for Trump, and we got into a huge fight because I said to him, this is not a matter of opinion. Where you're talking about an agenda which can literally put members of our family in harm's way. If they're LGBTQ plus, if they're, black, if they're anything that's, activists, all of which are present in my family, and we're not speaking to this day. And I am about unity and about coalition, but if your value system includes my demise or the demise of my child, I don't know how you bridge that gap.
Well, that is the question for all of us to continue pondering on. But what I can tell you, Dominique, what I can tell you is I am working tirelessly to build coalitions with like-minded people who share my values. And there is nothing more powerful than coalition building and showing up as a united front. And as you know, one of the chants that we say, when we're protesting, right? A community united will never be defeated. And so that's the attitude that we have to have, is that we have to build these coalitions with like-minded people and protect one another. And I'm so proud of, people who showed up in California when ICE was picking up people, in Chicago and in New York City, our activists who are out there throwing themselves in front of vans and trucks because they believe in people being able to live free of fear.
Okay, here's the quote. We can disagree and still love each other unless your disagreement is rooted in my oppression and denial of my humanity and right to exist. And I'm right there with them. That is, so does that mean I'm part of the problem? Dr. Almontaser.
No, you are not a part of the problem. You are a part of the solution. And the solution is we got to keep educating people, and we got to keep talking to people, and we got to wake them up. Yeah. That's what we need to do, because there are a lot of Americans, and I can tell you, who drank the Kool-Aid during the presidential race, drank the Kool-Aid, and now are like, who took my Kool-Aid? What the hell is going on?
Yeah.
And those are the people now that we need to say, come, let's talk. Let us help you. This is what we need to do.
Yeah, I think that's right. I do think that part of it is being, like you said, active listening. But part of it is our attitude, because one of the things, I'm probably not going to be able to see eye to eye with that relative that I'm no longer speaking with, because his position is so extreme at this point. But what I won't do, what I do my best not to do, and they're talking about it in the YouTube chat right now, is be condescending and say that because you don't agree with me, that means automatically you're stupid, irredeemable, or, somehow less important or less human than I am. I feel like one of the things we really, really have to do is leave people off ramps, leave them a way out of whatever that organization, opinion, vote, tendency is that they have. We have to leave people off ramps to come to a more united, a more loving, a more humanitarian, a more progressive place.
Absolutely. And we have seen that window of opportunity, Dominique, right now with all of the SNAP benefits being cut, and seeing the very people that were getting those benefits were people who supported this president, and now are like, what is going on? And so slowly but surely people are realizing, right? And also the tariffs and how they've actually impacted, our economy. So slowly but surely we have to meet people where they're at. We can't say, I told you so, because that doesn't help, but let people gradually come back and say, what do we need to do? And then, reach out to people when you see they're totally lost and don't know where to go, what to do, how to handle the situation. Bring them into the fold and support them and get them to understand that we have to recalibrate in 4 years.
Dr. Debbie Almontaser is my guest, and you're invited in if you want at 800-920-1580. We'll continue this convo when we come forward, only right here.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Lena Bloom for the Bail Project.
Imagine you're stuck in a jail cell and you can't afford bail and someone offers you a way out. Just plead guilty and you can go home and kiss your kids goodnight. What do? What thousands have. You plead guilty whether you are or not. Cash bail makes poverty a crime. That's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail. Because freedom should be free.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Established in 2020 during a time of deep racial unrest across our state and country, the Black Freedom Fund was created to make sure that leaders and organizations working to support Black communities and build power have the resources they need to stay in the fight for the long haul. We believe that those closest to the issues impacting our communities know best how to solve them. That's why in just the last 5 years, we've granted more than $45 million to over 200 grassroots organizations across California. That is the largest collective investment in Black organizing in history, and we're just getting started. We are clear-eyed and committed, more now than ever, to our people, our power, and our possibility. Join us in creating a future where Black people harness their full power to shape their lives and realize a just world for all. Learn more at fundblackfreedom.org. That's fundblackfreedom.org. The Black Freedom Fund is proud to sponsor Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DePrima on First Things First.
Dr. Debbie Almontaser is my guest. She's founder and CEO of Bridging Cultures Group, Incorporated. And obviously, you've done a lot of work. Cross-cultural understanding is one of your specialties. A lot of work in particular around Arab Americans. When I clock where we are in pop culture, I'm always looking at the way African Americans and others are represented in media and in entertainment. I personally feel that Indigenous Americans and Arab Americans have the worst representation of anybody. If they appear at all, Arab Americans are typically portrayed as terrorists, is particularly in entertainment. What's the pushback to that? What's the remedy for that?
The remedy for that, Dominique, is that we have to continue pushing the agenda, right? People like myself and others who are continually meeting, with media outlets, with, Hollywood, with a whole host. For example, there's an organization, the Muslim Public Affairs Council, and they actually have the Hollywood branch where they actually meet with people in Hollywood about the portrayal of Arabs, Muslims in movies and what have you. And I think, we've come, I don't want to say a long way, but we have made some progress, right? And, we've just seen within the last, couple of years, two really important, documentaries that have been made. One of them is, Rami Youssef, who's a comedian who tells his story, his family story, childhood, etc. That was actually on Hulu. And then the other is, what is his name? He's also a comedian, Amr, and he actually did a special on Netflix. And he's a Palestinian American who basically tells his story and talks about migration, right? And talks about, being taken to Mexico and then trying to cross back the border and what have you. And so just seeing these two people being able to tell stories of what it's like to be in the shoes of an Arab American who's also Muslim and what they experience day in and day out is so relatable to so many other ethnic and racial groups in the United States. When people who watch these series have basically said to me, "Oh my God, I experienced that," or I could relate to that because that happened to me. And so I think, going back to what we talked about earlier is the power in storytelling and, working with, Simon and Schuster and making sure that they do a good job in inviting, authors to actually be able to write from these communities. So we have a lot of work to do. We still have a lot of work to do, but we're making progress.
I haven't watched Mo Amer. That's on Netflix, The Vagabond. I have to go take a look at that. Rami, yes, that was, it's hilarious. And also informative, which to me is really like the sweet spot. You help put forth Arab American Heritage Week in New York. Is that widespread? I don't think we have that in LA.
So we did that back in 2004, where we actually had the Mayor Bloomberg, inaugurate July 9th through 16th as Arab Heritage Week, and we received a proclamation. And so community-based organizations across New York City were coming together and putting together some events, from panel discussions to park festivals to fashion shows to a whole host of things, broadcasting Middle Eastern restaurants for people to go eat. Does that formally still exist right now? It doesn't. The organizations and I that we were working with, have evolved and moved on to do other things, but they also do their own programming. So though, we are not formally doing it in that specific week, it is happening throughout the course of the year. And, through these organizations where they are actually creating these opportunities for people to become better educated. But in addition to that, there are a host of museums who've taken on the mantle to do some education, like the, Manhattan Children's Museum, where they actually did a whole exhibit on Islam and Muslims for children, as well as the Met Museum right now, which actually has like over 30 artifacts from Yemen, which they've done, programming to help people in New York City better understand who the Yemeni American population is in New York, and the rich history that they come from. And so one of the things right now, Dominique, that I'm working on is to actually get the state of New York to recognize January as Muslim American Heritage Month in the state of New York. It's already happening in New Jersey. Prior to President Biden leaving office, he actually released the Islamophobia report that took place over a course of a couple of years to put together through a variety of organizations, Muslim and non-Muslim, who came together and put this together. And I think, having a dedicated month that people can learn about Islam and Muslims and the rich history that Islam has played historically in the inception of this country is so crucial, because what we see right now, Dominique, is Islam and Muslims are portrayed as an immigrant religion, not having roots. And the very roots that I'm talking about is those who actually were enslaved and forced here came from lands that were, a part of the Muslim faith. So there were Muslims who were brought by force and enslaved that actually, worshipped in secret. And if they were found out, they were beaten and even killed for doing so. And so that rich history has to come alive. And I'm so proud to share with you that in more recent time, we just released, the New York City Public School System just released the Hidden Voices curriculum, which talks about Muslims in American history. And their history dates back to the 1500s when they first started coming to North and Central and South America. And so just so proud of that because it uplifts the rich history of the Black community that sacrificed, to maintain a faith tradition that we can still talk about today.
We're going to have to leave it there. Dr. Debbie Almontaser, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me, Dominique. I appreciate you.
Tavis Smiley's up next. He's got a full show for you as usual. You don't want to miss it. You can tap in with me on all the social media. I'm at Diprima Radio, DIPRIMA Radio. Like my dad, the late Amiri Baraka, used to say, a man is either free or he is not free. There can be no apprenticeship for freedom. Until tomorrow, KBLA delegation, one love.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Secretary of State Marco Rubio met with the Ukrainian delegation in Florida as peace talks with Russia continue.
As we've made progress, I think there is a shared vision here that this is not just about ending the war, which is very important. It is about securing Ukraine's future.
Key sticking points include Ukraine giving up territory and limiting its military. The Moratorium Now coalition recently rallied in Detroit, Michigan, demanding full funding for SNAP and the Affordable Care Act. Despite the recent shutdown, food insecurity is rising, with thousands seeking aid daily. Advocates warn cutting ACA could harm millions and urge redirecting funds to food, healthcare, and housing. And Real Housewives of Atlanta star Portia Williams has been cleared in an alleged airplane incident after BravoCon 2025. Federal authorities say she was falsely portrayed as the aggressor and will face no charges. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
It was a rough night for both of LA's NBA teams. The Phoenix Suns snapped the Lakers' 7-game winning streak with a dominant 125-108 victory at Crypto.com. First loss for the Lakers since November 12th at OKC. Dylan the Villain Brooks led Phoenix with 33 points and a lot of trash talking for LeBron and Lakers fans. LeBron finished with only 10 points in 31 minutes. The Clippers lost at Miami 140-123, fifth straight loss for the Clippers, who are now 5-16. Former Clippers guard Norman Powell led Miami with 30 points. The Clippers trading